guys, it is Paul, the MMA Shark. Again, I promised a double-header weekend. We have PFL Friday and this huge LFA card this Saturday night, 8 p.m. Both the prelims and the main card are on UFC Fight Pass. This is a big card coming from Sao Paulo, Brazil. 13 fights on the card. And, you know, there's no UFC this Saturday night, but believe me when I tell you, this LFA card is absolutely stacked. I'm just as excited for this event as I would be for a UFC. You know, you have a championship doubleheader on LFA 151 this Saturday night, and there's a banger of a main event. We've got 12-2 Jose Delano taking on undefeated 9-0 Gabriel Santos. Both guys are coming off knockout of the year candidate knockout victories. So Delano failed to make weight twice, or he would already be the LFA champion. He's got big wins at LFA 126, LFA 133, a main event victory over Michael Stack, and a huge LFA win on one of their largest cards ever, and that was LFA 143. So Delano, a Brazilian top team protege, he's riding an 11-fight win streak into this fight. And at just 26 years old, that 12th win will not come easy as he is taking on Gabriel Santos. You know, there's absolutely no quit in Gabriel Santos. If you saw his last fight, you would be in complete agreement with me. Gabriel faced huge adversity in round 1 at LFA 146. He was almost finished by 13-1 at the time, Marcio Barbosa. But look what he did in round 2. You know, the round opens up and he smashes Barbosa with a head kick and just followed him up against the cage with some nasty ground and pound and gets the TKO finish. As a dog in that fight, after really getting beat up badly in the first round, he gets the finish 9 seconds into the second round. You know, and it was only his LFA debut, but he had won 7 straight on the regional scene prior to that. And if you look at the level of competition he has faced, 73-27. So Delano's getting a lot of respect here from the odds makers. The price on him right now is minus 355 favorite. The comeback on Santos is plus 280. Listen, clearly Delano should be the favorite here based on his jiu-jitsu, based on his boxing, based on his durability, his chin. I get it. But at the same token, I'm not saying Santos is the play. I'm just saying that Santos deserves a lot more respect in this fight. He's got nasty jiu-jitsu. He's got nasty front chokes. He's got a great ground game. He was able to use high kicks against a much higher level of competition in his last fight. Wow, LFA is sitting on a jackpot in this fight. Santos versus Delano main event is going to be absolute fireworks. And to think there's 12 fights before that this Saturday night on UFC Fight Pass. LFA, you're doing big things, and I'm very happy to become a part of the LFA family come February. So the co-main event, very pivotal fight. 2 elite female strawweights going at it. And to further give value to this fight, I have 2 big points. The last 4, the only 4 LFA strawweight female champions have gone on and made it to the UFC. So that's one big part, other than the LFA title being on the line in this fight. The second big part is this further extends the South America rivalry between Brazil and Argentina. I love what the LFA did here, having this fight in Brazil. You know, at just 24 years old, Julia Polastri, you know, she's a Dana White Contender Series alumni. She's 10-3. She's the number 2 pound-for-pound ranked female fighter in Brazil, training out of CWB in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. She's coming into this fight hot. She's fresh off a TKO win over Bianca Saddlemeyer at LFA 146, and she has 5 wins by stoppage, 4 of which were knockouts, 1 submission. Could she be 1 punch away from making it to the UFC, or will Brenta Gottig make it as a dog in this fight, a 6-0 undefeated fighter out of Argentina coming in as an underdog in this fight? She's a top prospect out of her native Argentina. 5 of her 6 pro wins are by finish, 4 of which by knockout. So both women are finishers. And 72% of female fights between LFA, PFL, Bellator, and UFC go to the distance. This can be a fight that doesn't, especially in a 5-round title fight between 2 females that are prolific finishers. Gottig at just 24 years old. Gottig is 31 years old. Her opponent, Polastri, in this one is 24 years old. So Polastri's got the advantage there. The other big advantage Polastri has is her strength of schedule coming into this fight. She's beaten some very high-level competition. Just the fight on Dana White's Contender Series gives her, tougher strength of schedule. She's been in the spotlight. Gottig so much hasn't been. Yes, she's 6-0, but those wins have not really come over big caliber opposition. So I think the odds makers are right on this one. Checking right now, Polastri is currently minus 250. The comeback on Gottig, even though she is 6-0, undefeated with 5 finishes, is plus 215. I'm going to give you guys a free lean on this fight because I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's a well-matched fight. It's a very close fight. I personally think that Julia Picostri gets the win in this fight and goes on to be the LFA strawweight champion. So 2 incredible title fights on the top of this card, the co-main event and the main event. Looking at the rest of the main card, we got some really good fights on it. You got Castro, who is 14-3. He's a teammate of Gabriel Santos, who we just spoke about in the main event, taking on Anderson Ferreira. Anderson's taking this fight on short notice, filling in for Roosevelt Roberts, who many know as the UFC vet. Anderson Ferreira is 16-4, but he is 32 years old. He will be 3 inches taller in this fight, coming in losing 3 of his last 5. For Castro, this is his LFA debut. He is 14-3 and has won 13 fights in a row. So, you've got a tough opponent in Anderson Ferreira taking this fight on a few days' notice, but Castro has been on fire. Any fighter, pro fighter that wins 13 in a row, some against good competition, some against bad competition, but 13 in a row, it justifies the minus 400 favorite. I think we should see a finish in this fight, but I also thought that we would see a finish in the Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill fight, and that went to the judges' scorecard. So very interesting fight LFA has on their hands there at lightweight. Next up on the main card, interesting fight. Probably one of the more well-known fighters on this card is Jonas Bilharinho. Bilharinho is well known for his spinning wheel kick knockout on Dana White's Contender Series, and ironically enough, that wasn't enough to get him signed to Contender Series, or to the UFC rather. And the fact that he got that spinning wheel kick knockout on Dana White's Contender Series, it just happened a season too early. Last season it seemed like contracts were given out like candy. Anyone that wins a fight was getting contracts. Jonas goes out there and gets a 3rd round spinning heel kick knockout and didn't get signed. Unfortunately for him, he had to fight Jose Delano in his next fight in the LFA, and he did lose that fight. He did come back at LFA 136 in July and got a unanimous decision win over Pedro Lopez. So one thing with Jonas is the output. The output always scares me. If he were a go-for-broke fighter, he's got the chin to do it. I think you would see much more success in his fights. He throws heavy, he throws hard, he throws fast, but sometimes he just doesn't quite throw enough. So if he comes into this fight, guns blazing, I think he will make short work of Kyle Machado. But at the same time, Kyle Machado is a surging LFA veteran. He's coming in training with Gabriel Silva. He is plus 240. He opened plus 240. He is now down to minus 105. So a lot of money coming in on Machado for this fight. Jonas Bilharinho right now is minus 125. You got the 10-2 versus 16-7. Machado cashes an underdog on LFA 143. That's when he was a plus 240 underdog. So very dangerous on both ends there. I think if Jonas comes to fight, We'll see how he looks on the scale tomorrow, tonight, whenever you watch this video. But I think I'm going to have a pretty strong play on that fight, but we'll see. Another intriguing matchup. And I've been watching the line flip-flop both directions on this fight, especially in the last few hours. We have a very good flyweight bout between 8-3 Marciano Ferreira versus 8-1 Mateus Brauns. Mateus Brauns training under Thiago Santos at Tafa Fight Team, and he is fighting out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, taking on Marciano Ferreira, fighting out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, Team Lucas Mineiro. So LFA, well done. We see what you did there. We've got two studs at 125, one out of Sao Paulo, one out of Rio. You know, that's like LA versus New York City. You know, that's Philadelphia versus New York. You know, that's a big rivalry to have in Brazil. I expect nothing but fireworks in this. Both fighters are 4-1 their last 5 fights. Brauns, the younger by 1 year, 28 years old. Marciano is 29 years old. I think this is going to be a hell of a fight. Main card opener, don't blink on this one. Marco Silva, 28 years old, 7-1 with 5 finishes, fighting out of Chuto Box, Diego Lima in Brazil. He's taking on Oliveira, who is 25-19 at just 28 years old. So I'm going to call him a kid, even though he's got over 50 pro fights. This kid's not afraid to fight anyone. Unfortunately, 35-19, that's a lot of losses to have on your resume, and 14 of those losses have been by finish. So you've got the finisher in Marco Silva versus the guy that's been finished several times in Oliveira. I did some research on Oliveira. He's got a very good ground game. He just doesn't have the chin, so I assume that Marco Silva's strategy is going to be go out there and get the finish. But you're going to pay if you're betting on Marco Silva. Right now he is minus 500. The comeback on Oliveira is plus 375. Anytime you have a pro fighter with over 50 pro fights taking on a pro fighter with 8 pro fights, you have to be a little reluctant, especially at minus 500. There's no way I'm going to lay that juice. You know, I know he's a finisher versus someone who is very susceptible to the finish, but minus 500, that's a very high price for this fight. So that is the main card for LFA 153 this Saturday night. Prelims and main card on UFC Fight Pass. 3 prelims worth mentioning. Very good fights expected. Mateus Rocha versus Jefferson Nascimento. Someone's always got to go. This is a main card worthy fight on the prelims. Mateus Rocha is 5-0. This is at lightweight. And Jefferson Nascimento is 8-0. Very good fight on the prelims. Female fight that's very interesting. In the strawweight division, Pamela Mara is 6-3-1, taking on Alexis Tahinara, who is 7-1. So, you know, they're really putting some good prelims together on this. And, you know, I typically don't handicap the preliminary card for LFA, maybe 1, maybe 2. This card's a little different. You know, it's a Saturday without the UFC competition, and all the prelims are on Fight Pass, so, you know, we've got a full Saturday night ahead. One more prelim worth mentioning. Actually, there's 2 more worth mentioning. Lucas Barros is 7-2, taking on Casillo Barao, who is 7-0. And then another lightweight prelim that I have my eye on is Lucas Escobar, 3-1, taking on Gabriel Souza Galindo at 5-0. Very well matched card. Very excited for LFA 151 this Saturday night, live from Brazil. If you're not signed up yet, www.themmashark.com. Of course I cover LFA. I cover UFC, PFL, Bellator, Contender Series, PFL, Cage Warriors, bare knuckle boxing. You know, basically if fists are being thrown, I'm handicapping them. ONE FC. But one thing I'm very excited for in 2023 is all the huge things that the LFA has been doing, all the big fights that have been happening, and, you know, of course, these 2 title fights headlining this card. Julia Polastri versus Brenda Gottig for the strawweight championship, and the tournament championship in featherweight. Jose Delano versus Gabriel Santos. 2 stellar fights. Guys, checking out for now. I am Paul, the MMA Shark. www.themmashark.com for all your betting advice when it comes to MMA. I am plus 533 units from last January. All documented and proven. Check out the results on the website. Any questions, shoot me an email at paul@themmashark.com. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, or watching it on YouTube. And until Saturday night, LFA 151, let's get ready to cash some tickets. Make it